and then you could own two businesses. Now people would have to come to you in the church. They'd have to come to the priest, right? Great song. They'd have to come to the priest. And you know who the people that were really doing that negative energetic crap on people and enslaving people's minds? It was the church. They were the ones practicing that black magic, and they didn't want any competition. So they knocked out the healer, call them witches, and then knocked out the beer wives, call them witches, and took the outfit to depict both of those two groups. Because those groups didn't need any religion to do what they were doing. And so that's where the witch's outfit comes from. So it's good to know this, because the same thing is being done today. Through whipping up of fear and falsehoods, people are vilified. It's being done right now. But because many people are not aware of history, they don't see it. They don't see it. If you don't get I don't know if you guys have seen some of my videos. I'm gonna use symbolism here, and I'm counting on your intelligence to figure out what I'm talking. You guys familiar with this? The joint juice? Now, if you want to do that, that's fine. You know, everybody has their freedom to do that. But if you don't want to do it, then there are all kinds of names for you. You don't care about the safety of others. You're selfish. It's the same thing. Just a little bit different and a little bit changing. Because those who don't want this have very good reason for not wanting it. I'm not going to get into that, because I have a series coming up. I just did a series, and I have another one coming up. It's really informative, telling you, and it's coming up, and it's going to go through every single one of them, the different kinds, and what they actually do, how they affect your DNA, and what you can do about it. That's if you've had it, you're not going to have it, or you're around people that have it, because no matter how you slice and dice it, everybody's going to be affected. But if you know, then you can be prepared and neutralize all the garbage happening. So that's what I'm going to have a series, probably about 4 parts to it, and then I'm going to do a YouTube where it's comprehensive and goes through, and it's going to like half an hour, probably 2 videos, 20 minutes a piece. So you can go that way, go that route too. But if you know how these people have always functioned, you'll see the same thing happening over again. Nothing new under the sun. They do the same thing over again. So just like they vilified the business women who were called bear wives, and just like they vilified the healers who were there for the people, just like they vilified the healers who were there for the people, they'll do it. They do it over and over. They keep doing it. And always remember, be aware of the actual people that you're out there for. Always have one eye open and one eye closed for them. Because back in the 1920s, when they had the Great Depression, and they were giving food out to help the people, did you know who distributed the food? Let me tell you, it wasn't the government, and it wasn't the church, and it wasn't charity. Can anyone, if anyone knows that history, can anyone tell me who was distributing the food to the people who were starving? I'll give a couple of. Well, what happened to freedom? That's a great question. I'm gonna answer that. And one of the questions, I have a pinned video. I implore you to watch that. It's I have 3 pinned videos. The second one with a great man by the name of Krishnamurti, talks about freedom. And when you watch that, you'll understand. So, I don't see an answer. The mafia distributed the food. You know why? Because the people weren't going to F with them. Because the very people you're trying to save sometimes will kill you. The very people you're trying to help, I don't want to use that word save, help will be the ones that kill you. And nobody was going to go, no charitable organization, no church, no government were going to send their people down there. But the mafia took the job. And it went quite smoothly. You know why? Because you weren't going to screw with them. They already had a reputation, and they already knew the communities they were in, and that's who distributed the food. You don't see that in your history books. There's lots of stuff you don't see in your history books. But that's why. Because many of the time, the people who you're there for, they'll be the ones that screw you. So it isn't that you should be afraid of people or whatever, but you should always. That's why I had in the Patreon, I did a discussion where I talked about if you're in the business of helping people, helping to heal them, help work with them, get through trauma and all of that, before you start that, you should have a program, a system where before you start, you go through the system and you clear things and you look at their energy and all of that. It saves you a lot of problems. Most people, however, are really good. They are there. They're looking to you for aid and assistance, and they're grateful. But then you have those that are not. Those you can never heal. Those you can never do it. They're just going to bring a lot of trouble to your doorstep. Click that button, ditch them, and go next on that. Right? So, I know I veered off into different things after talking about the witch's outfit. But that's I guess you go where you go, wherever you're led to go. Speaking of freedom, we're always encouraged to fight for freedom. And the reason for that is because freedom is a unique quality that if you fight for it, you don't really have it. And if you have to fight for it, you will never get it. It doesn't come through a fight. So that's why you'll always see fights attached to freedom. If you have to fight for it, you don't have it. That's the first thing. The second thing about freedom is that society will always encourage you to fight for freedom. You hear it. You hear it from the biggest, most prolific and stages. The president, the government. Oh, you should fight for your freedom. Fight for your rights. Blah, blah, blah. Everybody talks that game. But as Krishnamurti says, they encourage you to fight for freedom outside. The constructs that are made from our minds. No one ever talks about freeing your mind. Because it's okay to talk about the constructs and the institutions that are built by an enslaved mind and try to free yourself from that, but never is it spoken about freeing your own mind. The actual thing that built those constructs, that built those institutions, the actual minds that built it, you're never told that you should free that. Because why? That is where true freedom lies. Freedom is a choice and it is a mental construct. It does not exist outside of your mind. It exists here, and then you will create the very things that a free mind creates, which then will engender freedom. That's how freedom is created. It's not created by any war, not created by anything other than a mind that is free. That is why I'm so huge on inner work. We attach inner work on shadow work on the spiritual side. But like I said, everything is spiritual. And if your mind is not free, it will create and contribute to the enslaved systems that are out there. And I don't care who you are. You start in here first. And then you start in here first. And what comes out of here will engender freedom out there. One person at a time. That's why if you do your inner work, and you free your inner child. Because so many times you go in and what's the inner child like if it's never had any work? It's in a cage. It's in a dark corner. Regularly I see that. Right? And so have some of you. If that's what the inner child is like, and if that's what's happening, then you're going to produce the same kind of mental construct to support the system of enslavement. Because that's what you've got going on in here. So you have to be free here first. And then you create a freedom within your own body, within your own environment. And people could be screaming about rights being violated, native rights, black folks, red folks, all of this stuff. Because this app is a fantastic app. We've all met on it. But I see coming across everything about all of the things that make us miserable is on there. And everybody, the knowledge is there. It's getting across. People are becoming aware, and it's helping to a certain degree because it's being done outside of the self. And when it's being done outside of the self, it can be counteracted and neutralized by those benefiting from the enslavement of our society. Because the plantation is not out there anymore. And it isn't just a certain kind of people working those plantations. The plantation is in everybody's mind. I don't care if you're black, white, yellow, green, orange. That plantation is existing in the mind. And you have to work to eliminate it. Otherwise, you do not have freedom. Bob Marley said it best. Free yourself from mental slavery. Only you and I can do that. I know I'm a horrible singer. I understand it. But listen to that song. That is what Bob was talking about. He wasn't talking about anything else. He was talking about that slave plantation that's in everybody's mind. And that's most people on this planet until they do the work of getting rid of it. Right? When you do that, then they have no hold. They can talk about you getting this, and in your mind, you just give them the middle finger. Oh, we'll do this, we'll do that, da-da-da-da-da-da. I'm going to talk about rights, too, when I do this series. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to start pumping that thing out next week. It's not going to have, 20,000 views and 50,000 likes, I know, but only those who need to see it will see it. And so that's that. I'm glad you asked that question about freedom. I don't know if there's any questions on it, you see? Yeah. But freedom is a state of mind. Just cut it short. It is literally a state of mind. Because people who fight for freedom are always fighting for it till the day they die. Why? Because they never get it. And there's always something showing up that threatens that freedom. So that they can keep fighting. That's the construct that we live in. But enough of us, because I always like to say this, enough of us are freeing the minds. Because you don't need every mind to be free. You just need enough. And then the 100th monkey effect, which has to do with the but the existence of something called resonant frequency. And the resonant frequency of all human beings is shifting. And the reason for all of this stuff, in particular this, is to shut down your DNA so that they can reverse that resonance. Meaning, there is a field that we're all connected to. When they say we're all connected, there's an actual energetic field that we're all connected to. And that field influences us or informs us, and we inform it. And enough of us are informing that field to the evolution of ourselves and humanity that is starting to shift away from being controlled by those who have nothing but service to self intentions when it comes to us. So how do you stop that? You shut down the pineal gland. You shut down the awareness And then when you do that, then the mind starts to plug back into their system. And then that resonance will start to shift again. That's the real reason for this. That's the real reason. So, when we understand that, and by the way, every law is on your side. But the noise is so loud, I see some people say they're taking our rights. When it comes to this, no rights are being taken. Because I looked it up. And I'm going to bring all that up. No rights are being taken. Mandates are not law. They're not legal. None of them. And if you know what to say, you know what to do, you are untouchable when it comes to that. They can't mess with you. Because all you got to do is say the right things. And I'm going to go through that. Not going to go through that on a live. Not going to do it on a live. But I'm going to do it on those 3 snippets, and then I'm going to put it on YouTube. With all the info you need. Broken down in a simple way so that you don't have to, you're not going to be confused as to what to do, with links to exactly where to go, things to fill out, waivers, challenges, all of that. And they can't mess with you. Because they cannot legally make you do anything like that. Especially if it's experimental. And 2 of the companies that are putting that stuff out have never done it before. And all of them get sued on a regular basis for messing people up. But you ain't going to be able to sue them if they mess you up with that. So enough of that. Yeah. Emergency use authorization. Thank you there. Thank you, babe. Thank you. That, under that law, which I will get into, you cannot be forced. It's law. So nobody's rights are being taken. It's just that they know how to say, they know how to scare you into threatening their jobs and all that. I've got for you who are being threatened with your jobs and all that, if you don't do I got exactly what you can do, and they can't touch you. They can't. If they do, you have them by the balls, and you'll be rich. You have them by the balls. And there are many organizations out there. You don't hear about them because, of course, you're not. But I'm going to tell you about them that will be there to help you. Okay? So we're not helpless in this. And I'll be damned if I know this stuff and don't spread it and share it with y'all. All right. All right. So, any questions? Julia's granddaughter. Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining. So, that's it. Any more Halloween things you guys want to hear about, or that I want to talk, that you want to talk about? Yeah. All right. So I'll talk about. I'll go into a little bit. I'll go into the EUA. Emergency authorization. Emergency use authorization is what EUA stands for. And what it is, it's a law to protect Americans against being mandated to take medicines that have not been proven to be safe. That have not been proven to be safe. These things have never been tested. And it's not making anybody safe. And I just discussed the real reason why they're doing this, right? It's shut down your DNA, shut down the spiritual, shut down the spiritual awakening processes happening across the globe. Shut down your pineal gland. And your pineal gland, think about consciousness as the software your ability to heal, your ability to read and do all that stuff, your ability to be, your clairsentience, your ability, your sixth sense to be able to see things that are not physical, all of that, that's consciousness. That's the software. What does all of that need? It needs a hardware, like your computer. I'm doing computer talk, right? Your pineal gland is the hardware. You take a baseball bat to the hardware, how's the software going to run? Right? So that's what they're doing. They're taking a baseball bat to the pineal gland, which is where consciousness streams from within you, from the universe. I'd rather be hanged in public than have that happen. But I ain't hanging for nobody. Okay? Because like I say, the law is on your side. So, the EUA is there to protect you. And it says that no one can be forced to take any kind of drug or that is an EUA drug, emergency use authorization drug, or cannot be threatened, cannot be mandated, and cannot be made to do anything that will personally damage them like what they're threatening. Okay? Furthermore, I'm going to add to that, this is a case that had to do with the military. It's not old. It was 2003. It's called, this case is called Doe versus Rumsfeld. And it was a case brought to the courts because the military was using our wonderful young men and women as guinea pigs. And this case said you cannot use the military, anybody in the military, as a guinea pig. That's not what they signed up for. Which means that's the military, where they tell you you sign away all of your rights. That applies to every single citizen in this country. And so when something is experimental, which is the reason for the EUA laws, when it's experimental, unproven, and not proven to be safe, you cannot be made to ingest or have anything to do with it until it is safely been tested. And it takes years for that. It takes years for that. So I just wanted to get into that for a sec. So that's just a little bit. I wanted to give you a taste because I don't like to like throw things out there and then not give a little bit of information on it. So you can look that up. You can even look that up on your computer right now or your cell phone. Okay? And so that's just one case. And for those of you out there who are saying, well, you know, you want to be safe, you don't want to die, you don't want to do this, all this, it's the same thing. It's like people have been, it's like there's a program in their head. You know what's going to come out of their mouth. Oh, you're being selfish. Oh, you don't care about other people. Look it up. The country of Israel, 80% have had the joint juice. They're having a hell of a time. Because, and Mr. What's his name? The face of this whole thing was asked about it, and his answer was completely cockamamie. Okay? So, it's raving all kinds of havoc there. And other places, and even here, but you will not see those cases here until the casualties start to mount. And that's why I don't care about any of shadow banning and any of that stuff. We cannot cower in the face of tyranny. or censorship. At least that's my case. So, let me see if there's anything else here. Yeah. And this is, yeah, Jen, and this is, I want to tell you this. This is not to scare any of you. If you've had this, you want to watch the series because there are things you can do on every level. If you've had it, if you haven't had it, or you've had people have had it, there's an answer. Because I'm not into scaring folks, and I'm not into telling you about stuff so that you're afraid and be joining the line of all the people that are doing the same thing. Everything, I won't talk about it unless I have some solution or suggested solution or something that you can do. I really won't, because I'm not going to contribute to the fear factor, and I'm not going to contribute to people losing sleep. Okay? You know? At some point or another, this whole thing, we chose it. So, I want to say that in the series, I'll be talking about each of them does, as well as what you can do about it. If you are 40 or less, survival rate for COVID is 97.7%. If you are 50 or more, it's 97.4%. 99.4%. And if you're 70 or above, it's 99.2. More than 9 out of 10. The regular common cold gets rid of more people than that. Just so you know. And what you usually end up seeing is the really few extreme cases. I had a friend, and she was 60, she's 64, her husband was like 67. They went in for it. They went into the emergency room. They sent them home. Didn't give them one drop of medication. That's what happens to most people. And I'm going to say this to everyone out here as a public service announcement. Please take your vitamin C. Just take your vitamin. There's more, because when I do the series, I'll tell you all the stuff. Vitamin C. In China, they did a study on the effects of vitamin C on this thing. And in the middle of the study, they stopped it. Because by the time they got to the middle of the study, everybody was already cured. They ended the study with just vitamin C. Get yourself some good vitamin C. There's a brand called Ester C. Not super expensive. Take yourself 1,000 milligrams a day. They say you should have about 85 milligrams. Linus Pauling, the guy that discovered that, his dosages were much higher, but it was creating so many healthy people that they actually, this guy won the Nobel Peace Prize. They actually turned against him and turned the numbers down. By the way, the amount of vitamin C that the Chinese were giving their patients was like less, it's like a couple hundred milligrams. But get the good, don't get the one that has that's made from ascorbic acid. You don't want that. You want to make liposomal vitamin C, or just get that Ester C because it stays in your system for 24 hours. If you just take, like, if you have an orange with vitamin C in it, it's in your system for 4 hours and it's gone. Liposomal C stays in your system 12 hours. That's good. I recommend that. But Ester C stays in your system for 24 hours. So it gives you that protection. Help boost your immune system. And I'll talk about some other products you can take as well. I already, actually, as far as products that you can take, I've already done the first series called, that series is called, by the way, you guys, you can check it out if you haven't. It's called Things, it's called this, Important Info on a Very Popular but Forbidden Subject. If that's too long and too much of a mouthful, just go to my TikTok, and it's probably 6 or 7 TikToks from the top. It's called Important Info About a Popular but Forbidden Topic. Anyway, those of you who are watching, if you like what you're hearing, we also have a Patreon where we do all things spiritual and anything that is needed by any individual in that Patreon. And we talk, and you have a community. If you're awakened, whether you're just awakened or been awakened a long time, there's a community that we have in Patreon. And we talk about everything. And we help each other. And we're there for each other. And so not only is it a community, it's a place where education and knowledge is shared that you can implement into your life right away. And we do things and assist in all kinds of work, inner child work, all kinds of things. If it's you name it. And also, we have a website called Ontology Wellness. OntologyWellness.com. You can go there and really kind of take a look at some of the things that we do, including hypnotherapy, energy healing, getting rid of phobias, inner child work, emotional body work, clearing work. You have entities that are not desirable in your home, or you feel like this cloud over your head. Contact us. We can help you with that. You can go to ontologywellness.com, or you can just DM me and all of that. Also, we're very big on, you've just woken up. What's next? What's next is really connecting to your spirit, your divine self, your true self. And in the bio, there's a meditation that can begin the process. It isn't going to solve everything, but it can start. It's a great start to the process. And along with what you're doing, will really, really, really help. And again, the Patreon is also great for that. You have a community. You might be in a family that doesn't support you, in a place where, you're the only one that has found out about the inner core of who you truly are, and there's no support anywhere. Consider the Patreon, join the TikTok, and yeah. So, let me see if there are any questions, if I missed anything. Sorry. I haven't? Okay. All right. So, I think that's it for tonight.